Again, my name is Mo Foster, longtime educator in Oakland, California, as well as an entrepreneur myself. And this is Build Citywide Design Challenge for the Thriving Communities Challenge. The objective for today is rather simple: introduce the design challenge and relevant tools and vocabulary to get you started, as well as prepare participants to choose a client. All right, that'll be the main objective, is just to choose your client and start getting to know. Today's agenda: first, we're going to do a little warm up, then an introduction to Build's design challenges. We're going to define human-centered design. We're going to define empathy as it pertains to the design challenge, introduce the platform builduniversity.org, and then I'm going to let you loose to explore the site and get ready to choose a client. All right. The suggested warm up would be to post a picture, quote, or statement that represents something you love or about or want to see in your community. So it could be something that you already love, that you're already seeing, or some things that some hopes that you really have for your community, or a combination of them both. But when you think about your community and you come from a place of love, hope, or aspiration, what would be a great symbol that represents those things? Go ahead, and there's a link to the Jam board. You'll go into the Jam board and you'll add an image. As you can see here, we've already kicked it off with some images. You'll see there's a young man. It looks like they're either presenting, or perhaps he is creating or working. Either way, he looks to be successful and having a good time. And that's something I know I definitely want for my community. We also see a young lady here with some money. And I'm okay with that too, because that's important to me as well. What do you want to see for your community? Go ahead and you will add that to our Jam board, Dream board. All right. All this talk about Build Design Challenge, I think it's important that we get right into the kickoff video. This is the only video I'm going to be showing you, because the rest of you should be watching on your own. But just to get some context, and because this video excites me all the time, every time I've seen it, you all like probably.
Welcome to the Build Design Challenge. Have you ever dreamed of owning your own business, creating your own app, or making a positive change in your community? If so, here's your chance to be the boss. This is an adventure where you can select the path you choose with our help and guidance. We provide the map for your journey. All you need to bring is your time, energy, and imagination to envision a solution you can later bring to life. Along the way, you'll learn a technique called human-centered design. What's that? Let me break it down for you. Human-centered design is understanding who you're designing for, with the focus on your client. If you're new to this, don't worry. You have a unique perspective and voice that we want to hear. After all, who has your experiences, your truths, your outlook on the world? Basically, you have everything you need to create something both useful and inspiring to make someone's life a little easier. So, are you ready to make a difference? Let's build.
Gets me every time, folks. Let's build. So that's what we're here to do. Every design challenge starts with an overarching question, right? And this question for this year's Build Design Challenge, Thriving Communities Challenge, is: how might we build powerful, thriving communities where everyone enjoys safety, wellness, and economic freedom? So take a look back at the dream board that you created with your class or with your group, and you'll probably see that a lot of these themes are already represented, because that's naturally what we kind of all want for our communities. Well, over the next month, you'll be embedded in a process that'll help you really come up with some solutions. If you're finding that some of these things are new to you, like what does it mean to be thriving? Or what is safety when we're talking about community? What does wellness mean? Or even something like economic freedom? One thing that I can definitely suggest is go ahead and Google those things or go to YouTube and drop some of those words. Thriving communities is not a new term. So if you were to say, what makes a community thriving? You might get some ideas. Or what is economic freedom? There are tons of videos from young people and people who look just like you talking about these things on YouTube. I'll add some of those links as well to your teacher resources so that your facilitator can lead you in the right direction. But also because I know who I'm dealing with, I know you know how to Google and find answers to what you are looking for on the internet. And I suggest that you get a little bit of background knowledge on these things before jumping too deep into the challenge. What is human-centered design? We heard it said several times already. Human-centered design is an approach to problem solving that develops solutions to problems by involving the human perspective in all steps of the process. All steps of the process. All right. The thing about human-centered design, it's an offspring of design thinking. Design thinking is used to solve all kinds of problems within businesses. Human-centered design solves a problem, maybe within a business or an organization or in a community, but it solves that problem with a human being, an actual user in mind. That changes things when you start to build for individuals. These are the steps to human-centered design, and you'll find all of this information in both your workbook and on the website. And don't worry, more on that later. Human-centered design starts with empathize, moves on to defining a problem, then ideating and coming up with ideas that could be a solution to a problem, whittling down those ideas, and then prototyping for one, and then having users, folks like your client, test that prototype. And then here at Build, because we like to do a little extra, pitch is also part of our design process. And I found that the pitch is really what kind of like makes the whole thing very real, helps you synthesize all the information you got and puts this idea in front of people. So it's an extension of the test. We'll talk more about that later. What are you pitching though? What are you prototyping? Well, chances are it'll fall into one of these buckets. A product, anything you can make or sell, something that you could actually physically put in a bag, put in a box and sell. A service, that's an action to help to fulfill a need, like dog walking or babysitting or cooking, right? All of those are services, and then so many more. Who knows what you're going to come up with? And remember, a lot of times, nowadays, the way we utilize a service is oftentimes through a website or an app, and that's how we find out about it. But then if we were prototyping the service, which we'll talk about later, we really want to know, what are the moves? What are you going to do for the client? What exactly is going to happen? And then there's the campaign, an action to achieve a political or social goal. Yeah, you might get deep into this design challenge and decide that campaign is what we really need. We need to bring awareness to a situation, and you've got some ideas on how we can do it. As we saw, the first step in human-centered design is empathize. And I just want to make sure that we all have a working understanding of empathy. All right, now this is the dictionary definition. The reason I pulled this out is because there's something very important in this definition that I found that I was missing when I was facilitating the design challenge. In the definition of empathy, it says the action of understanding, being aware of, being sensitive to, and vicariously, that means living like kind of through someone else's, experiencing the feelings, thoughts, and experience of another, of either the past or present, without having the feelings, thoughts, and experience fully communicated, okay? So they're talking about observing and listening to someone in order to figure out what it is that they're feeling, thinking, and going through, which is something that we all do all the time because we're not all forthright with what we're feeling. So we've all learned how to listen deeper and ask deeper questions to get the answers that we're looking for, right? I think the biggest part here for me is the action of understanding. And it means that you're going to take steps in order to do so, right? But if we're simplifying the terms, empathy is the ability to understand the thoughts, feelings, or emotions of someone else. okay? And the way that we get to that understanding when using human-centered design is usually through an interview with our client. And a client is a person or organization using the services of a professional person or company. Okay, I get it. You're saying to yourself, but I'm not a professional and I'm not a company. But for the time being, in this case, you are like the junior professional problem solver in training. Okay. And so that's what I'm going to refer to you as junior professionals. Why? Because you've solved problems already. Whether you thought about it this way or not, the more we go through this process, you'll realize that some of the stuff you already do organically with your friends and with your family when you're trying to solve problems. Becoming a problem solver isn't something that happens once you're an adult because you know all the information that you need to know in life. You've been solving problems and maybe you've been kind of using these steps in human-centered design. Okay, so as my junior professional problem solvers in training, you will be listening to the clients and trying to identify what it is that they need. Here are some things to consider, all right? When you are in this process, some of the things you want to really be looking at, right? And it'll all make sense once you get to the client interviews and you start listening to the videos. But what you want to be considering is what is said in the interview. Exactly what is said, right? Word for word, because you definitely want to, there's often a way that people say something that alludes to something else. We all know this. Sometimes we hear our parents or guardians or sisters or brothers say something and we say, wait, why'd you say it like that, right? That implies that there is more to what they're saying than just what is said. It's how they're saying it. So we want to know what is said in the interview. Then how do they feel, right? Oftentimes, particularly if we are truly empathizing, when we're really listening, we can tell how they feel by the way they're talking. If you say, hey, how you doing, Mo? And I'm like, I'm all right. I'm good. You're going to ask me, am I really okay? Because you're going to feel something because you've taken some cues, right? So what are some challenges they face? You're going to hear that in the stories they tell. What else do you notice about their interest in their environment? Right? If somebody tells you one thing, but then you're looking around at where they live and you're wondering, how do these things add up? All of that is part of what they're really trying to communicate or trying not to communicate, which is still communicate. Can you uncover what they need? What does their body language and other nonverbal communication imply? This is what I love about the fact that all of these interviews are on video. You get a chance to also check for their body language, or fidgeting, or taking long pauses. What do you think those pauses mean? Remember, it's about understanding their perspective. So the whole point is to really be investigating, looking around them, looking around their neighborhoods, listening to everything that they say, maybe even rewatching videos so you can really start to understand what their needs are. So your to-dos, all right, before the next session are to go to builduniversity.org. You'll want to register because, and keep your password super easy. The site will not be collecting personal information beyond the registration information. So if you just want to make it your first name so that you always remember it, please do so. I'm going to let you know, full disclosure. I've already forgotten and had to re-log in and get a new password at least twice. So make it super easy. I thought I was making it easy on myself, but I realized at this point, my password should have just been Mo. Or start the challenge. You're gonna go to the button in the upper right corner. Unless you wanna rewatch the intro video, you'll go to the button in the upper right corner to go straight to the challenge. And then you'll watch the Empathize video. Scroll down to meet the clients after you watch the Empathize video and watch at least the introduction video for each client. There are only 4 clients, so that's 4 introduction videos. Which one of them really grabs you and makes you want to know more about their lives? Because that's probably the client you should be solving for. Practice navigating the 360 environment. Listen, I know that I'm a little older than most of you, so it could just be me, but Plenty of times I've missed out on videos and insights because I didn't navigate the full 360 environment. So that's why I say take a few minutes to really get used to the tools and how they work, and feel around and look around on the platform. There's so much information. And then last but not least, after you feel comfortable and you feel like you've heard a lot from each client, make a decision and choose a client. All right? Don't just take my word for it. Here's a word from my alter ego.
Hi there, folks. It's Mo the Builder, and I'm here to introduce you to the incredible resource and digital platform that is builduniversity.org. Now, after you register and log in for the first time, giving yourself a password that's super easy to remember, because we're only asking for this registration information so that we can see how many people really got to participate in the challenge. I suggest you scroll down, all the way down, and grab your student design book. You'll need this resource almost immediately upon starting the challenge. Now, if you're not familiar with the Google Suite, all you have to do here is go in and make your own copy of the student design book. I suggest right away that you add your name where it says to add your name. Navigating back to the main page, go ahead and hit Start the Challenge in the upper right corner. As you can see here in the left column, we have all of the steps to the design challenge, all of the aforementioned steps to human-centered design. Go ahead and start with Empathize. After watching the Empathize intro video, go ahead and scroll around and get used to the environment. You'll see that the framework for human-centered design is here, as well as other tips and tricks for empathy and your clients. It's important that you feel in some way connected to your client. So take a moment to watch the intro videos for each client before making a decision on who it is that you want to solve for. Remember to take time to really explore the 360 environment so that you're aware of just how many videos are out there. There are a lot of videos. Remember, human-centered design is you solving a problem and keeping the human at the center. And in this case, your client is that human. Make sure that you take time in making this decision, as you will be working to solve this human's problem for the duration of the design challenge. You ready? Let's build.
All right, so back to our to-do list, folks. This is all you have to do. So if you want to screenshot this, or maybe just write these things down, the biggest thing is you're going to go into builduniversity.org, scroll around and learn everything you can about how to use it, bookmark things that you know that you need to get back to, download that design book and make sure you have a copy, and then go ahead and listen to some client videos in preparation for choosing your client. Because when you come back on your next session, everyone should have their client ready and be ready to start taking some notes. And we'll have a lot of tips on that, as well as a special guest interview when you see us. So just know that the next session, special guest interview, you're going to have your client, and we're going to learn how to take down some insights and what we should be listening for, how we should keep our notes to make sure that we have everything we need when it's time to move on to the next step in human-centered design. You with me? Let's build.